I'm still starting. All right. Now we're live.
That's it.
Okay. This is okay. We have a bit of technical issues here, but yeah, let's just try to figure out how this.
Den lægger helt ud, mand.
Okay.
Kan du se det?
Ja, det gør den. Men hvorfor fanden skifter den frem og tilbage?
Jamen, jeg ved det sgu ikke. Det er vildt mærkeligt. Jeg synes heller ikke, at jeg var på skærmen før.
Nej.
Ej, det var irriterende, mand.
Vi har trods alt 0 viewers.
Vi har heldigvis ikke nogen, der er tikket ind endnu. Okay. Skal jeg prøve lidt på? Og så ind igen.
Jeg prøver lige... Ja.
Et spørgsmål om kan du reagere i det? Altså, man kan virkelig få et spil lige meget.
Ja, men det kan vi selvfølgelig sagtens.
Ask guests join hybrid audio. Okay, vildt meget. Ja.
Ja. Den tror jeg faktisk. Ja, det er præcis det, jeg skal sige til.
Ja. Men der er spørgsmål som den indstilling, den giver dig.
Jamen, det gør den. Du må se, den skifter ikke lige nu. Og vi er live.
Jamen, kan jeg trykke dig med i den der samtale nu? Jeg hopper lige med igen.
Ja, det er godt. Gør det.
Men det er bare fordi, jeg kan synes, at jeg kan se min audio fra dernede, ikke?
Men, så du står faktisk som værende med i samtalen?
Nu er jeg lige på vej igen.
Ja.
Sådan. Og vi broadcaster stadig.
Yes.
Jeg synes bare, vi skal gå ud.
Det gør vi.
Så gør det.
Alright.
This is it.
This is it. We had this crazy idea here the other day where we agreed to meet up and just said, okay, fuck it, let's do this. And that's pretty much the start of it. We have no idea what we're doing right now.
Definitely not. I mean, it's an unscripted broadcast. It's very spontaneous.
Indeed.
Like I said, we met.
Actually, we met at the wife's birthday party.
Yeah.
And
We were talking. We were just, saying all things about, where you were in your life, and we mentioned this podcasting thing, and I was immediately.
Yeah.
I think it's a great format, and I'm really excited about it.
Yeah. And somebody may be weirded out that we're speaking English now, even though we're two guys from Copenhagen. But yeah, just to back out just a bit of what I want to do with this is actually to contribute into some sort of larger zeitgeist which is going on at the moment, where everybody has the opportunity to pretty much make their own radio station without a radio network, and that's called podcasting. So yeah, the last year I've been pretty much, I skipped any other media, and whenever I had a pair of headphones on, I've been listening to different podcasts.
Yeah.
So for me it's
And you've been looking for this for some time as well.
Yeah.
You've been blogging, and you've been
exactly, yeah.
way into this zeitgeist.
Exactly, and backing up just a bit more, I've been really interested in future studies, like a very nerdy and geeky thing, and last year I had the opportunity to become a dad, and I went on paternity leave, and I had so much time, and so I was rolling around in a cemetery nearby where we lived with a stroller, and I just had to put stuff in my ears because you had to walk around for 2-3 hours.
Yeah, no, I did.
Let a baby sleep. Well, my girl is 1.5 today, but yeah, back then you needed to keep that stroller rolling constantly.
I remember we met you at downtown Copenhagen, and you were like, "We gotta go. She's gonna wake up."
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I was walking around and I had these ideas about looking at the future, I've always been a huge science fiction geek, and I was listening to audiobooks. I love classical, old school science fiction because it's so funny to look at old stories and look at them in hindsight. So if somebody writes a science fiction story in the 50s or 60s, you can easily peel away what can you say, very time typical things that was going on there, and you can decipher the really original ideas and you can reuse them today. So I was listening to a lot of that, but at some point I got a bit tired of it. And at that time, I was really interested in the concept of technological singularity. I don't know, have you ever heard about that?
Not as a saying or definition.
Yeah. It's a guy named Ray Kurzweil. He has this theory that at a point in time, artificial intelligence will be greater than the sum of all human knowledge.
Okay.
And at that time, we can't really predict anything, and because we're not the most clever ones yet on the planet. So, and then he's predicting that to be 2045. So it's actually pretty damn close. It's the near future, and there's some really scary things about that. And I've been following a lot of the medias evolving around those topics of artificial intelligence and supercomputing and something called transhumanism, where we're basically on the verge of immortality.
Okay.
Yeah, because medical science is evolving, and
so you have these, which is more the immediate future, like 3D printers, and in 2040 you just your arms hurt.
Kick yourself in the arm. Yeah. So I was looking into all these crazy things, and one of the news sites I was following a lot was a news site called Singularity Weblog. And the guy running that, he had a podcast, and I had my iPhone, and you see I could download a podcast app. So I downloaded that and I started listening to this guy's podcast, and it made all these audiobooks I was listening to. I stopped listening to them, and I think I plowed through 70 episodes of Singularity Weblog. And then I started, okay, maybe there's other podcasts around here. So I stumbled upon one which I've encountered on several occasions, which is Joe Rogan's podcast, which is sort of the de facto standard of how a podcast can be today, and how successful a guy can be doing a podcast. And I love the format, which is very loose, and I guess this is actually what we're mimicking.
They have high energy and they're funny and all this.
Yeah.
The topics are also
very interesting, and they have some amazing guests on it. And what the format is about when I'm listening to, for example, Joe Rogan's, is you're just like you're sitting in the couch right next to the conversation and participating in it, but you're just listening. And you have an opportunity to listen into a conversation where following every tangent that's allowed to do that.
And I mean, we discussed this when we met a couple of days ago. That Joe Rogan show is also very impulsive and unscripted, and just goes with the flow. And I think we could both agree that we're going to try and see if
we can do that.
The same, I mean, we're going to imitate this. We're not saying people.
Not at all.
And
we're not famous comedians and UFC commentaries or anything. But
exactly, and but going with the flow and just making.
We try to exactly what we talked about is to be honest, we haven't talked that much, but we talked about is to right now we're having this conversation just the two of us, but we're going to invite guests. Beginning, it might be our friends who have something interesting to contribute with, but we're going to make this a conversation, and see where it goes. And when it evolves to a later stage, we'll try to get some interesting people in here.
Definitely, and I mean, you and I are in similar situations. We're both
dad's recently.
Yeah.
That's,
Newly married as
yeah,
well.
we're married, you know, we're settled.
Yeah.
We have our house and our cars and
Plenty of debt.
yeah, plenty of debt.
Yeah.
And we're really set in the Babylonian system. And we actually have jobs that, even though they're in different fields, it's, I would say, similar positions in
Indeed.
the hierarchy.
You could argue that we both have a career.
Yeah, you could argue that.
Yeah.
I mean, but I'm not I wouldn't say I'm a career person.
Not me neither. But definitely ambitious to a certain degree, and we want.
Yeah,
a lot
we want freedom. I think that's the main thing, and at least when I was a couple of years younger, I thought that money was freedom. You know?
Yeah.
And so the goal for me has been for a while to not work in a capitalist company, or being able at least to choose more how I would spend my working day,
Yeah.
how I would earn money. And this is a part of that as well. We're trying to explore other options. That's my ambition. I want to get out. I want to be able to be spontaneous, you know. When it's Friday, you know, have a good time all weekend, and when it's Sunday evening, look forward to getting up and get at it. You know?
Yeah, exactly. And it's I think we're pursuing the same thing here. And yeah, right now we're starting this, and we have no idea what this can evolve to.
No, it's
hopefully it can evolve to something crazy where.
Let's see the responses. I mean,
Yeah.
as well. We can keep. I enjoy your company. That's
Yeah.
one of the.
We can add to that. So yeah, but to be honest, we don't really know each other that well.
As well. I think effectively we spent in conversation like 2.5 hours.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. So, and then from that we can take a lot away. And so far, right now we're recording this. That's pretty awesome.
And really, I'm going to get to know you as well.
Yeah.
I look forward to that. I'm also going to know myself more, and I think hopefully we can learn.
Yeah.
Whoever listening in something as well about themselves, where they're going with their lives.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That getting to know you. Yeah, I don't really know completely what your interests are.
No.
Exactly. So this is going to be quite exciting as well, because I've imagined a lot of guests coming in here, but to be honest, I don't really know if they're going to be fitting. But of course they are.
I think everybody will be fitting, because it's just a matter of us trying to get the best out of people. Who will eventually come on the show and generate an interesting conversation.
Yeah, and there's some common denominators about what is an interesting conversation. Normally it's when you speak to a person who have something on their mind, and you can see they're driven by passion.
Yeah.
And once you have that, or you have a huge amount of knowledge, or the both, that's the best one. Yeah, then you have an interesting conversation. You have something that you can provide. That's one of the reasons why I want to start this podcast, because I've been the most failed blogger in the history of blogging. I think I've started.
No, at least you started.
Yeah, I
started.
started.
I think everybody wants to be a blogger, but
yeah.
So the failed one wants to go start.
Exactly, and I've started 7 blogs. I think I wrote 2-3 posts, and then they somehow.
What are blogs about? I'm curious. There's 7 different platforms, or 7 different topics, or
now maybe pulling one out of my ass. I don't really know if it's 7. Let me count. The first one was right when blogging was completely new. I started up on, I think it was blogspot.com, and I started just a blog, live blogging, basically. The second one was about how many years? 4 or 5 years ago, 5 years maybe, where I figured out that future studies could be something awesome. something about connecting patterns and looking at things from a broader perspective and holistic kind of view of the world, and try to take a role in writing about future value stuff. Then I tried to start one where I wanted to gather around some interesting people, and we would all agree on writing one journal every week. So you would have interesting people coming in.
So these entries that you did on that blog, was that like
Well,
in depth or
there was. See, that's the thing. That's the reason why I love that we just rushed head into this, because I'm the kind of guy who want to set the premise, and I spend too much time setting the premise and then get bored with it, and then it doesn't kick off at all.
Totally. I mean, trying to sell these limitations as well, or I don't know, just overanalyze. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Go for it. Which is cool. You did 7 parts. I mean, I've jumped into things as well. Had my own business for a while, and just like.
Yeah, what was that about?
Actually, I started my first company when I was 18. It was a cleaning company. I was in the town, the city that I'm from in Denmark, called Laursen.
Yeah.
And I started it with my friend, who I also like lived with in an apartment in Møller. And we went out and bought a car, but a smaller car. Fiat Uno. So it was a 15 years old, smaller car. Couldn't even stick the vacuum cleaner. Had to go out the window. And it was ridiculous. We just printed some T-shirts and got around. Got some customers, but I found out I didn't like cleaning.
This is us.
Cleaning. So the goal was, of course, to get enough customers to go which never happened. And then I moved to Copenhagen and studied for a while, and I started another company with import of clothing from America.
To sell here in
To
Denmark?
sell here. First, we started selling in Denmark, but it was, the fashion that I brought in from California was not compliant with
There's stuff you like.
Denmark is a small country. Yeah, there was only stuff I like. And Denmark is a small country, so at least at that time, you get something that hits the majority of the customers, maybe have to go outside the that's what we did. We were in Spain, France, Germany, UK, all over. So it was quite a venture, actually.
Yeah.
And it was a good experience, I think.
Not a good business.
Not a good business, not at all. I lost a lot of money. I did.
Oh yeah.
But I gained some experience that is invaluable, and also a lot of perspective on life. Because I was chasing the dollar, I was chasing freedom, but I was accelerating it. I wasn't like feeling how I could get there.
Yeah.
And for me, that's what this is about.
Yeah.
This is about just letting it flow. See, okay, can I get something out of this? And if not, do something else.
Yeah.
At least I'm not gonna invest.
Yeah.
I mean, see, the setup we have here is pretty basic. So
it's beyond basic.
So hopefully that one isn't gonna transfer through to the quality of it.
Yeah. Yeah, we have 2 laptops and 2 headsets, and that's it. And we have a couple of lamps shining some light on that. I've for a long time I wanted to start my own business as well, but right now my wife has her own business, and we're actually in her office right now. I just want to move in here, so you join the picture. Oh, there we go. But yeah, her having her own company gives me a lot of experiences here. So, for example, she's running a fashion company. Twice a year I'm with her in Paris, just having a glimpse of what it is to have your own company. I've always aspired to start something myself. So yeah, I've definitely been looking into that.
Yeah, you're still gonna try and pursue that, right? I mean,
Yeah, to a certain degree. Also, yeah, you start reading some books and you get some ideas. For example, we both talked about reading the 4-hour work week. How much you'd be like, holy shit!
That would be amazing.
Yeah. I don't know if I know how much of it is valid in this day and age, because there's a lot which has to do with being on the internet in the year 2007, 8.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And things are moving so fast that you can't just sit on the beach and watch the numbers. I mean,
Exactly.
10 Q&A and that's it.
Yeah. But there are some very valid points of how you should time and stuff like that. That's really cool.
Definitely.
And if this moves along, definitely going to incorporate some of these principles, I reckon, because otherwise you could kill yourself with spending time. So.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's the ambition, at least for me to begin with, is also to like maybe I have a full-time job now, you know, but maybe take that down to part-time or eventually I could maybe go into like consultancy based, you know, doing freelance work. Based on my experiences, I work with finance in a large company, so it would be stupid not to benefit from that. You know?
Yeah.
Because money is still the main factor in our lives, I would say, that runs the engines.
Yeah,
love, of course, is the main factor, but
of course. And that realization that money actually is a mean to freedom. Once you like, I've had a lot of like looking at money with the notion that money is evil. But money for me now it's a mean of exchange, and the way if you can handle money correctly, it's an opportunity for you to be free to do other stuff. And I have my lottery ticket, which is my wife. So if she gets her great breakthrough of being a fashion designer, well,
her business is doing well, right?
Yeah, well, she's
going in the right.
She's definitely moving in the right direction, and for us, what she's doing right now is providing us with some amazing experiences. Last year at this time of the year, we were in Japan. She got invited from an EU program who wanted to take European companies and position them in Japan, which is so awesome. And we had like we were at a fair there, and we also had hotel paid for and everything. We had to buy our ticket there. And a couple of weekends ago, she was invited to Warsaw to be at a fashion show, and everything was paid for there. So it gives us some amazing opportunities, and I get to see the dynamics of Paris fashion, which is endlessly fascinating once you get to that glimpse behind the facade and see the dynamic what's going on. Because to be honest, fashion, when you look at it from outside, it looks very shallow, and you think, oh, what's the fuss all about? And why do these people even care? But once you get to understand, like, once you peel off the layers of the onion and try to get into that core, it's very interesting to look at it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there are so many aspects of the business, and I was involved in the more transactional part of it. I was working with creative people. I went to creative companies, and so I was more back office trying to push the sales, the logistics, and all that. But we went to trade shows as well in Barcelona and Berlin. Bread and butter was just the biggest one, and it's a circus, I would say. I mean, and I'm not overly positive about the fashion business because I wouldn't call them shallow, because there are still a lot of great people working in the business, but I mean, there's a lot of bullshit going on.
Yeah, but see, that's the interesting part, because whether you like it or not, then it's a gigantic industry. And there's tons of money to be made in it, and there's tons of influence to be gained. And what Vibe, my wife, is trying to do is is be on the more edge of what fashion is, and maybe not on the very edge, but very close to it. So what she's looking at is to find stores around the world where it's that are the most edgy.
Yeah, setting trends.
Exactly, and once you are in the right stores, everything will go on from there and stuff like that. So it's very interesting, and I have a little taste of owning my own business just because I do it through her. So it's pretty cool. But she's my lottery ticket.
which is cool.
Yeah.
My wife is really same because I have the highest respect for her and her skills, and she's great. You know, she's one of the persons who's great at everything she does.
Yeah.
And she's been studying for a long time. She said when I met her 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, she set out on a journey to complete her education and to finish her master's, which she's very close to finishing now.
Yeah.
She got a job in an advertising agency, and she's just starting.
Yeah.
And she really thrives in her environment. She's working in between the creative and the customer, and that's what she's gonna do right now.
Yeah.
You know, but she can do so many things that, I mean, I could easily see her being a well-paid CEO of the company or whatever, you know, and it's not her ambitious. It's not her ambition to go there. It's not that she has to go there or that she really can't live without that status or money or anything. It's just that I think that's the natural way. If she follows through, and that's a lottery ticket as well. And we talked about this, but it would be amazing, you know.
Yeah.
Being at home dad, I would love it, you know.
Yeah, that's a very different thing. I work in a company which has some amazing paternity leave rules, and because it used to be a public company, so there's some inherited really good traits there. So I had 14 weeks of paid paternity leave, and I had 2.5 weeks of vacation in the old vacation year, and I took 3 weeks after that. So I had 19.5 weeks in total. That's
crazy.
That's crazy. That's pretty much. That's 4.5, 5 months. Yeah. And I had the opportunity to take that such a huge chunk of the year off and not do anything but take care of my kid, which was from she was 5 months to 10 months. And when we started, she couldn't even sit, and when we ended it, the 2 days after that, she took her first step. So it was an insane period.
Yeah, definitely.
But I could definitely get used to just be a stay-home dad, and I got the opportunity to walk around outside and enjoy the fresh air, which you don't do in an office, and have some. I have my podcast in my ear, and it's. I
think that's one of the things that we also want to try and explore.
Yeah.
I'm just getting the feeling that
exactly.
That this is one of the areas that we might dive deeper into. You know, the whole you have a job, and you rather be at home, you rather do something else.
Yeah, that's one aspect. But also, I think we're definitely going to be concerned about the role as a parent. I think that's you can be a parent on so many levels, and one of the things that I've been looking at is that the way you just normally do that, like be a dad means to see a kid for 1.5 hours every day because you have to go to work and you have to put that kid into some kind of daycare center. That's for me it's bullshit.
It is.
And
it is. And it's unnecessary stress. I mean, as well, because this is the time in our lives where we should actually be at home, and then we could work later on.
Exactly.
It's the other way around.
And when you see people who who have worked hard their entire life and finally get to kick back and go do their pensions, and they're often they're they're really eager to work.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I really
it's
I don't
very
get it at all.
backwards the way
I
that
don't
we're
get it at
doing.
all.
Yeah.
And I've been giving it a lot of thought as well. And even now with one kid and full-time job, you know, and transportation, and my wife's working as well, you know, you gotta deliver the kids, bring the kids, and do the food and cooking and cleaning and all that, you know. I couldn't imagine how we could have one more kid.
Yeah, exactly.
How
It's
would
it's
that work?
it's a stressful life.
It's completely stressful.
Yeah,
Why not?
I've really tried to look into the dynamics of how to make that life more simple. Last year I read a book called Early Retirement Extreme. It's but what it was about was how can you sort of minimize the way you're living now, and then it had the thesis that if you can, let's say you earn 50,000 a year, but you only spent 10,000, and I was just fictional numbers.
Yeah, sure.
So you're earning a fifth of what you're no you're spending a fifth of what you're earning. If you can continue to live that life where you spend that fifth, then every time you work 1 year, you can actually take 4 years off. If you do it that way, meaning that if you start, and I've read Rich Dad Poor Dad as well, the building an asset portfolio, and once you figure out, okay, fair enough, I'm approximately going to live till I'm 85, let's say that. Then it's just calculating backwards and say, okay, you got factors like inflation and stuff like that, but then you also got some revenue from the assets. But look at it that way and say, okay, I don't need more of life than this. So what can you do to minimize your cost of living? Because that's one of the biggest problems right now. We're simply spending too much just to live. And some of the crazy points there, which I haven't really taken up into consideration, is like when you have stuff in your house, then every square meter of your house, which is occupied by stuff, you should really say, okay, how much does it cost for a year for a square meter in my house, and what does it cost to keep on having that stuff here? And then you can say, okay, this pile of books, this weekend, I just eliminated 95% of all my books because I realized, okay, I'm not going to read them again. And some of them I'm definitely not going to open at all. So what I would normally do before I had this realization that things have to pay rent in some sort of sense, I would keep them because they had some sort of value. Both sentimental value, but also a monetary value. You have then think, okay, I can sell them.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah, exactly. So I would pile this stuff up with that in the back of my mind. Okay, this is something I can sell and just be worth some money. But I'm not gonna sell it.
No, it's not. I mean,
It's first of all, it's difficult to sell it, and then it's too much of a hassle. So it's a better business case to give it away early than to keep it for too long a time.
Me and Anna, we lived in an apartment before we had our daughter, and we had 3 rooms, 2 bedrooms, and the one room was stuck. We didn't even. I mean, we had our clothes in there because it was nice just to have it. So you didn't have it in your bedroom. But other than that, it was stuck. And it drove me mad, you know, that I didn't look at it from the rent perspective. It was just that it was clutter and taking up space. It was unnecessary.
So actually, right now we're in, both me and my wife, we are in a stage where we try to clean up as much as possible.
But is the goal then to, I mean, you have a medium-sized apartment for
we have 93 square meters.
Yeah, which is it's
really
nice size apartment. And you have stuff in there that doesn't pay rent that you can live without.
Yeah.
But would you then like
get rid of it and move it to something else? Or
We're actually
have to get space.
we're actually considering right now to move into something smaller. Also, looking at our daughter, if there's something once you get a kid, without you noticing at all, you have shitloads of toys piling up, and well, you don't buy any of it yourself. It's all presents and stuff like that.
You do buy some, but
And
you know, recycle.
yeah, exactly. But nevertheless, kids get so much toy to play with, and once in a while you get the realization when she finds some sort of plastic bag clip in the kitchen, and she plays around with that for hours, and you're like, okay, how much toys does that kid actually need, and what is it actually that makes her happy? It's not necessarily tons of toys. So, and another funny thing is, if you remove some toys, she doesn't notice. So, also minimizing the amount of toys. But looking at the parameters is what makes her happy. That's the important thing.
Definitely. Couldn't agree more. It's just that sometimes you have half a day and the weekend to do practical stuff like cleaning up toys, or throwing this and that away, and you don't want to spend that time because it's so minimal. That's often where we're at.
Exactly.
We know that we can get rid of this, or this would maybe make things easier. But we would rather just go for a walk, relax, watch a movie, spend actual time with her.
But yeah, we're really trying
to. You have to keep us updated on the progress, because now you've made it official.
Exactly. now I'm accountable.
You're moving into a small place and you're getting rid of all the toys.
Not all the toys, but the amount of it. Just if we have to live in a smaller place, well, yeah, we'll be okay.
I mean, we have a different setup because we have a pretty big family, at least on my wife's side. And many of them live in other parts of Denmark or abroad.
Yeah.
And when they come visit us, it's nice to have them staying in our house.
Yeah,
so we have a spare room for those kids. Even now, from next week, my wife's younger sister is in between apartments. So she's going to stay with us for a month. And we love being able to help her out, and she's going to stay there and help with Olivia and just make it, it's a social thing as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Extra room. And even like if you have a bookshelf, plants, pictures and stuff, I mean, it's an atmosphere as well. It's feeling. It doesn't have to be all like something that we can live without, because for sometimes, just when you walk past that painting or those books, you get that little feeling.
We kept books, of course, but we threw away all the books that, to be honest, it didn't matter. It used to matter at a certain point, but it's been ages since I've looked at them or even considered opening them again. And I don't think if Iris would ever want to read some of these books, well, I have a Kindle.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, and everything is just so easy to get a hold of digitally today. Yeah, pretty much anything.
Yeah, no, you're right.
So that physical copy is just less and less important. It used to be very important.
Yeah.
It was something, for me at least, that you try to define yourself as a person with the stuff you own. But yeah, it's slowly trying to get rid of that aspect. But it's difficult. And
it is. I mean, it is. I think because when we bought an apartment last year, and we have more space than we need right now.
Yeah.
But if we want to have another kid, or our situation changes in any way, it's nice to have that extra space.
Yeah.
And the market is not very flexible for like
changing from a 3-bedroom to 2-bedroom and back. You know, it's the cost of doing a transaction in the marketplace.
That is true.
Too high, you know? And when you consider the prices as well going up and down, and then there's a big hit, you know, and it's too risky, you know, to do those transactions.
And to be honest, we're actually thinking about keeping our apartment and rent it out.
Yeah.
So.
And that's, I mean, you own that
Yeah.
apartment yourself, so you're free to like do that.
But we own we owe a lot of money having that place, and it costs us a lot.
That's how it is
Yeah.
at the moment, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly.
That is, we all have, I mean, have a lot of debt
Yeah.
if you own a place.
And that's one of the biggest factors. Like, I remember clearly in 2008, beginning of that year, I bought my car. I bought it from new. I was out being a young professional. I was having a career, and I bought a house or an apartment the same year, and I went from having 0 kroner in debt to have I had a credit limit altogether on 2.2 million Danish kroner.
Crazy, huh?
Yeah, it wasn't like I haven't used them all, but I owned 1.7 million in a house and then 220,000 for a car. It was ridiculous. I was pretty much that decision, and I remember back then thinking, okay, that's the way to do it. I was really happy that I was now a part of that system, being stupid as it was. But, come to realize what that is and that is actually to a large extent enslavement of you having to put up X amount of money every month just to maintain a living. So you have to make certain choices about what you do for a living. In order
it's
to
inevitable. You have to maneuver in that system currently.
Yeah.
So I mean, you have to be wise about what you do, you know,
Yeah.
what types of transactions you do, and that's, I think for everybody that's a learning curve.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you have to feel it on your own body.
Yeah.
Because I generated a lot of debt both in my own business, but also making bad investments. I was actually earned a lot of money on that part.
Yeah.
That I reinvested and lost when the price hit, you know. So
What did you invest in?
I invested some in my own business.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to control some of it at least. But then I also just invested in mostly stocks and different types of stocks because it was in, you know, the market was going up and it seemed like you couldn't lose, you know.
Yeah.
And you could just place the money. You didn't really have to even research or anything. And that, for me, it was looking at it back. It's crazy because I was a student of finance. You know, I was doing these financial report analysis and valuation of stock. But I didn't apply myself to the market.
Yeah.
Back then because it was like, why? I mean, it's going up.
And that's another thing. I've looked into that a lot. So right now my money is tied into debt, and every corner I'm earning right now is just to try to bring down debt. But I'm replaying the scenario once I get to that point where I either paid off my debt or I sold my apartment to actually have some money to invest in. How could that be invested very wisely? And one of the things I've looked into is there's a guy called Mike Maloney who does some videos, and he's a guy who he has a business selling gold and silver, so he has an agenda about selling gold and silver. But he made some amazing videos online about actually looking at the market from as wealth cycles. When certain markets are high, while other markets are low. So you don't look at the value of certain markets, but you look it into how is stock in connection with coffee. So if if one is overvalued, the other is undervalued, you know what to invest in. And look, having that way of looking at the market, that means that if a stock market has crashed, that's your point of investing, because then that market is going to be undervalued compared to other markets. So,
but what do you say you're looking to make a big score on a couple of investments, or are you like for the more? Are you going to make 8%? Maybe that's optimistic, but 4 6% per year on your portfolio, or I mean,
you see, I would that I don't know enough of yet, because I'm really looking into it and try to see what kind of dynamics I can figure out here. Because I'm definitely not going to be a day trader, because that's going to hurt my head, and and the risks are simply too high, because you're trading against machines having algorithm that exploits the market. But
I'm just it's also because I thought about the same if I were to invest again in whatever asset that might be. I mean, and I have 50,000 Danish dollars to invest, and I have 6% per year. I mean, that's nothing. It's not even worth this. So if I had 50 million and I had 25 million, 250 million, that I have already invested or whatever, and I had 50 million playing around with it, and I make 6%, that would be amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I'm thinking more of like trying to invest that in either someone in my network, my current network, and then get like make a business going in some way, and then buy some influence into someone else's ideas or work.
Yeah, that's definitely something I would look at as well. But when it comes to those wealth cycles I was just talking about, it's basically look at the market on a very holistic view. So I will not be that concerned about what percentage of interest I can get from my investment. I would rather look at it from, okay, where can I store the most value? Where can I buy the most with that money I have right now, which has the potential to become a lot more worth.
But still, I mean, you're not looking to you're gonna pay off the debt first, and that debt has an interest on it. So you're not expecting to make more than that interest, because then really then you're just gearing your investment, because you could instead of paying off your debt, invest the money that you're making already. You have 6% interest on your debt, and you make 12% on your investment.
See, that's what I've been looking for as well, because paying off my debt is it's a sleeping, it's a pillow. To do about building assets, paying off debt. It's really oh, just a second. I'm getting a text about sending the link for this podcast. I'm just gonna send it.
Go ahead, send it. Yeah. All right.
We
have 0 viewers. We want one. Who is it? Who's texting?
It's my wife. That's pretty pathetic.
No, not at all. I mean, actually, we're still broadcasting.
Yeah.
I had a conversation yesterday with my wife's younger sister.
Yeah.
And I told her about this. We had a Christmas, Easter family dinner yesterday, and some wine and some beers, etc. And she was in a funny mood.
Oh, there you go.
So I was explaining this podcast to her. And she said, what are you guys talking about? I mean, you want to start just with 0 viewers, or you want to start with 1 million viewers? So she was coming up with this crazy ideas.
To market.
To start with bang,
Yeah.
do some nuts. But here we are.
Here we are. Sitting in an empty room, and
we'll reevaluate maybe next week.
Yeah.
But it was good. I actually would love to have her on the show, because she's very open she's very straightforward, and she's really someone who kicks my ass.
Yeah. That's the thing here. For me, it's just let's do this, and then let's get this up to another point and another stage. We're gonna laugh our ass off hearing this when we get down the line. It's open. It's perfect. That's the point.
Me too. I couldn't agree more. And I think that we've just touched on some of the things that we already have talked about when we met, and some of our interests and what we'd like to see on the show. And hopefully we get some feedback from the people actually listening, saying, hey, it's great for this and that, and then we can see what we can do. You know, kind of doing guests that could elaborate on certain things, just get their views on life.
Let me just, now we have touched upon some of the points that we have already talked about. Then I'm talking about the you and me getting to know each other kind of podcast. So what don't I know about you?
Oh, there's a lot you don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot. Obviously, we're going to learn more. I mean, but basically, I'm more or less in the same place you are.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to let positive vibration and just love rule my life. You know?
Yeah.
And I'm sure that I would be provided for if I just apply that attitude and that faith.
Yeah.
And that's really who I am. And I've been evolving into that person through my life, of course, and my experiences, but it's accelerated after I met my wife.
Yeah.
And especially after we got on board, it's just so many pieces fell into place. You know?
Yeah.
And I'm just also trying. I want more time to explore this.
Yeah.
And I've just had 2 weeks vacation, and this is a public holiday today.
Yeah.
So it's perfect way of ending that 2 weeks vacation, because I really you need time to just come down to earth, you know, just relax and just let it. It's been beautiful weather, let the sun hit the face, you know, just take a chill, you know, step out of the Babylon system, you know, and we have to face that again tomorrow, but hopefully we'll be recharged, you know. But I want more of this freedom to just explore the positive lifestyle.
Exactly, and some of the podcasts I've been listening to a lot. There's one called Warrior Poet by a guy named Aubrey Marcus, and he's the CEO of a company that's sponsoring Joe Rogan's podcast, for example. Okay. But he has this podcast called Warrior Poet, which is it's something I really resonate with. Is finding that whole worldview of a person, that whole way of looking at a person, where you have a spiritual, philosophical kind of way of looking at a person, and then you also have a very physical way, so where you take care of your body and you train hard and you eat right and stuff like that. And I'm really,
we just have to make it to 2040.
Yeah, exactly, pretty much. but nevertheless, I've really tried to incorporate some of these things, and I've the last year really tried to. First of all, I've always been very physically active. I've been a gymnast pretty much my entire life, and done competitive gymnastics. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the only video of me on YouTube is of me doing a backflip, but nevertheless, and I've been doing CrossFit here for the last year or so, and I've been doing it with not being good at CrossFit, but to explore different kind of movements. So from a very holistic kind of way to look at it without dogmas. I like to step back and look at things from a different perspective. So, for example, doing CrossFit, I found it really interesting to use the gymnastic rings, because there was certain kind of movements I've never tried before. So that's kind of stuff I love doing, and I've really been into my health. So I've cut down on that, on gluten and sugar and lactose and stuff like that, and try to to eat really healthy. To certain principles, follow the paleo diet, but with variations. I really try to supercharge my body. I've been into the biohacker movement, so it's pretty crazy. It's basically about perceiving your body as a machine.
Okay.
And that machine can be optimized in any way. So I'm doing crazy.
My body is too lazy.
Yeah, but nevertheless, it's what makes you mental alert? What makes your body like? What makes you physically
Definitely.
active?
I understand what you're saying.
What gets you motivated? What triggers in your brain makes that? And that's very much correlated with diet and exercise. So exactly. And yeah, I've looked into, like, you can hack any system, and hacking basically means that you have a system with certain limitations, and then you find an optimal way of using that, which might not be what is common knowledge. So, for example, there's a guy named Dave Asprey who has another podcast, a blog called the Bulletproof Exec, which, like, he has this thing called the Bulletproof Coffee, and it's not him who have invented it, but he was out traveling and met some Tibetan monks who had some tea with yak butter in it, and he felt really alert from drinking pretty much butter. So I've tried that off. Like, for a long time, my breakfast was coffee blended with butter, like organic butter, and something called MCT.
A lot of butter, or
a lot of butter. It's really funny because you start to get to know all this stuff, and you figure out what's good for you, what's not good for you, and you take the liberty to actually make experiments with yourself of what's working, what's not working here.
Sometimes it's not an immediate effect. Change your diet.
Often it is.
I've always found it hard to. I'm doing something different, with my diet. Where's the energy boost? Where's the the nice skin or whatever? Glamorous hair.
Yeah.
I got that, but.
Yeah, I can see.
So I've always found that, because, like, the internet, it's full of so many health tips,
Exactly, and there's so much bullshit out there, and you have to weed out a lot of bullshit. Also because there's one of the plagues of the internet is, to a large extent, content marketing. So you want traffic, and you write easy to digest messages for the sake of gaining traffic, and quality control doesn't come in the first line here. But once you get to find really good sources of knowledge on the internet, it gets easier and easier to weed out the crap, and you actually figure out whether this has anything scientifically valid points to it or not.
I think maybe just a side note. I mean, hopefully when we get further down the road in this podcast, we'll have a website as well, and then maybe it would be something that we also.
Yeah, then we're gonna do content marketing.
Exactly. Easy to digest.
Yeah, exactly.
That was my just a side note.
Yeah. But yeah, I've really been looking into it, and I've tried a lot of crazy supplements, and try to really eat correctly and figure out what stuff don't I get in my diet that I need to get in my diet. One of the funnier things I've been trying here lately is a supplement called glutathione, which is it's an amino acid, which, as I understand, is produced in your liver, or it aids your liver. I can't remember which one it is. Somebody must call bullshit on me if I'm telling bullshit. I actually don't know what I'm talking about. But nevertheless, it has a lot of health benefits. It's an antioxidant which absorbs free radicals in your body, and stuff like that. But one of the crazier effects of it is that when you drink alcohol, as far as I understood, it depletes glutathione from the liver. And once that's depleted, you get drunk. And when you're missing that from your liver, you get hungover. So so far I've tried 3 times getting really hammered while being on glutathione, where my perception of using that supplement is that I don't get drunk as fast, and the next day I have no hangovers whatsoever. We had
like marketed as
no, not not at all, because it's actually a lot of the other benefits. It does a lot of stuff for your skin and stuff like that. But it has this one effect of negating the effects of alcohol, which is pretty damn nice. We were sitting, my wife Vivi has also been trying this for the amount of time I've had this glass of small supplement pills here, and we had a Monday where we were sitting drinking wine with some friends, and we drank 2 bottles of white wine, we drank 3 bottles of red wine, and we started on a huge magnum bottle, and we were 4 persons. Yeah, and I stopped after the white wine because I don't drink red wine. My stomach can't hold it. But those
you can get a bill for that.
definitely get that. Yeah, but nevertheless, these 2 guys we were with, they were hammered, and we could feel the alcohol. And then the next day, we were supposed to have a business meeting with these 2 guys, and these 2 guys, they were having the worst hangovers of their life, and we were just fresh as if nothing had happened. So it's really crazy.
It's a nice trick.
Yeah, indeed. So that's the kind of stuff that I've really been into. And just backing up a bit, I love having that whole worldview where you explore as a human being whatever possibility there is, and you don't accept darkness. And you take your experience and test whatever it is in any direction. Whether that be spirituality or exercise or it's political beliefs or anything. It doesn't matter. Like something I dislike and something that I down old systems. Because that's what's holding us back from actual progress.
I mean, I totally understand. I want the same thing, really. I just want to, life should be lived in whatever way really makes sense to the person in it, and not the way that someone else has lived it and then say, hey, this is the way.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's hard, it's hard because
it's so deeply enrooted in us.
I mean, and that's, I'm so fascinated at some point with again my daughter, because of course she sees everything for the first time on music for the first time. She gets excited about that, but she's so pure, she's not been learned how to react or how to behave, and that has really inspired me to try to unlearn myself.
Yeah. And it's really it's
even higher.
That's the most important progress of all, unlearning. It's just an example from a very physical point of view again is if you look at how a baby picks up stuff from the ground, like the way they use the legs, and it's really like they squat down deeply, and they're like, okay, how many grown-ups can actually do that?
I know I can.
Well,
probably can.
But the thing is, I've been practicing just because I can say, okay, that might actually be the most optimal way to do that.
That's right. But sometimes, and that's, the system that, sometimes, if you drop your keys on the street and you squat down, pick them up, someone probably will have to do throw stuff at you. That's not your fault.
No,
because you're doing it in the right way, but the system is just not ready for that kind of change. That's sorry to say. Yeah,
But it's really
that,
funny
I think
if
it's
you
just
look at it.
metaphor at the beginning.
You travel a lot, and if you go to other cultures around the world, when you see people working, they squat down. So it is something that is stuck in a Western way of doing things, and that's what I really find interesting is that what is it that we're doing just because everybody's been doing that and we can't really remember how long, but that's apparently how it's supposed to be done. And it goes so deeply and it goes so broad. One thing I've been looking at as well is democracy. Like we have our democracy, and in Denmark we had our constitution. It was written in 1849, I think, or 1848. Grundloven. Yeah. And in a lot of aspects, that's very, very close to now, and it's a very young institution we have, but yet we hold our democracy as it is today as something which has always been there and cannot be changed to anything better because that's how it is. We every 4 years we elect 189 people into a room and they get a carte blanche to do the. Well, another thing is that they have 4 years where they have a carte blanche to do the stuff they want, and then they
jobs within the government.
exactly, and you have an institution which people think hold they treasure it and they hold it very much in very high esteem. So people don't tend to look at it as something that can be changed for something better. And definitely there are something that is better.
Sure, I mean, of course.
And we live in the day and age of the internet. Why not harness the power of that and apply that to democracy? That's something of, well, it's basically you have a dogma that there is. I mean, I want to question that. I want to question pretty much anything I encounter. That's the main root of what I am about. So, yeah.
Definitely sounds good. I mean, I can agree more, and I'm my philosophy is that I think the system needs to be smaller, and applied at a more local, in a more local sense. So that you don't need these people making big overall decisions for that even goes into foreign policy. And foreign policy for me it's stuck there. I mean, I can understand why we have to seek influence in foreign community, like the way we're doing it. I mean, we should just set an example instead. Focus on ourselves, and try to set an example as municipal or town or I mean, I was reading about the Swiss model and everything. The Swiss government is only a handful of people. 10 ministers,
Yeah.
doing the job, and they rally here from it.
Yeah.
Just keep the wheels going. And you hear so much here in Denmark. It's always scandals this and scandals that.
I think they actually, to be honest, that might be something the world is definitely not ready for. But in an optimal world, there will be no nation states, as I see it.
No, I mean,
It's
because it's the logical way. I mean, but that's taking it. Perhaps we're getting ahead of ourselves.
We're definitely getting ahead of ourselves. That's not going to happen.
I think it's good that I get a feel from you as well that you agree that. I mean,
have you ever heard of the concept called liquid democracy?
No, I'm not great with like remembering. I remember content, not names.
Yeah, but it's the concept that if you have a population, then every person has a vote. You can give that vote to a representative, and that representative can be a guy living in your neighborhood who you trust, that guy can give his vote to a representative, and so forth, so that whenever something is voted for, you always know that you you've replaced your trust, and if you don't believe in that, you can always redirect the trust fluently at any time. And I know that in Italy, for example, right, it's something called the Five-Star Movement, which took tons of votes in the last parliament election. They want to, like, when they make internal policies, what their delegates in the parliament should vote for, like all the members are using that system.
Okay.
So it's really interesting. And there's also the Pirate Party in Berlin. They're using some software. So every member of party, they make sure that their delegates in I think the Berlin City Council, they vote whatever people decide to. And I find that it is possible to question such set in stones institutions like the democracy, our monetary system.
Even, I mean, in Denmark it should be much easier because we're only 5 million people. You know, we do it in Italy or in Germany. You know, it's so many people that have to change their mentality.
You see, that's another thing. Yeah, you can harness the fact that you're 5 million people. What can we do with it? It's a curse when it comes to making certain business models, because we're just not enough people to make certain business models. This business models that could only work in the US, for example, because there are so many people. But you can also look at it from the fact that, okay, we're 5 million people here. Let's make something crazy, which is only possible because we're 5 million people. And we have a tendency right now to follow instead of lead by example.
But that's the policy that Denmark has applied for a couple of centuries ago.
But
since the 80s, I would say, even further.
You know, last millennium.
Exactly. And especially following the United States of America. You know,
exactly.
Or NATO or UN.
For example, something like education, there's something called PISA, which is and you compare yourself to some kind of measurement, which everybody has determined. Okay, this doesn't work at all. So you want to measure yourself to others instead of setting a good example ourselves, where we would actually have an opportunity. Saying, okay, we're only 5 million people. Let's figure out how to do education the best.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, of course you can be inspired by other people. You can travel the world.
But it is as if.
Like you're saying, it's a lot of it is on the internet. You know?
Yeah.
It's in podcasts like this one, especially and various other media forms, but it's there, you know. But they're just not doing it.
Exactly, and for example, we just had a huge education reform, and then what they're looking at, and I might be telling shit right now, and somebody might correct me, but
no, it's okay. I think that we should say that, you know, some of the things is best guesses or best rememberings.
Exactly.
And you're free to like.
And so somebody feel free to call bullshit. There will be a lot of it on this.
It's too much faster to just take a good guess. I think I remember it was 7.
Exactly, and then that's the beauty of the internet. You can always fact check. But nevertheless, you seek to compare yourself to systems that work already instead of trying to set procedures yourself. And
even for energy and transportation, schools, agriculture, you know, there are a lot of opportunities in this country to set examples, just lead by example. And if you don't lead anything, at least we're making something valuable here. It's their choice, you know, and maybe the revolution will be televised.
That famous song, exactly. But yeah, I don't think I lost my thread.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, never mind. Let's jump into something a little more
Serious.
a little less serious.
Okay. Yeah, that's true.
So what do you do for leisure?
Well, I mean, most of my time, to be honest, is work, and then currently my wife started working, and she's still finishing her master thesis, so she's doing that a couple times a week, meeting with her partner, doing that, and I take care of the house, and I do practical things. I do cleaning, I pick up our daughter, cook food, you know.
Yeah.
She does some of that as well. It's like it's mostly on me.
Yeah.
And when I do have time off, I spend it with Olivia, and I know this I don't know. The 2 weeks vacation I had, the first week was not weather-wise wasn't good, but this Easter was fantastic. I mean, Copenhagen is just such a beautiful city to when it's springtime.
It is. It's such an amazing thing.
It is. And I just want to. I mean, I don't want to be inside doing anything.
Yeah.
That I used to do or whatever that I used to. I just want to be out there.
Yeah.
So we can do it. I do that a lot. You know,
So what about evenings? Like once Olivia has been put to bed, you actually have some time to.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, cooking is actually it's a passion for me because even though I enjoy a healthy lifestyle, I'm not into a diet or certain supplements or whatever. But I really enjoy cooking and cooking good food, quality ingredients.
Yeah.
I'm more of the Italian way of it.
yeah.
Live well at home. So I enjoy that, and then just relax and just have a conversation with my wife. But I have to say that Olivia is definitely a huge part of our day as well.
Yeah.
And she's not maybe not the typical baby that goes to bed at 7 or 7:30 and then sleeps through the night. She often is up until like 9. And then, you know, once we put her down, we're so tired. You know, we just maybe watch one episode of the series, and then I'm going to sleep.
Yeah.
So I mean, to answer your question, right now it's just making things work and trying to enjoy as much of free time we have together as possible. But during this vacation as well, I had some time to just do certain chores. It's all about the chores.
Yeah.
No, but I make the balcony nice, and I put up some things on the walls. I like to do stuff like that, even constant motion. I'm not good at sitting down gaming for 5 hours or reading a book, or even searching on the internet. I used to do that. I used to be able to just sit down and just explore the internet. Now it's just I go to my email and then maybe Facebook, and that's it.
I can still spend some time with that.
Yeah.
I love exploring.
Yeah.
I love taking time to find new stuff.
Yeah.
But I really try to set those things into system. Otherwise, it's crazy.
Yeah, and I think that might be the case for me that I don't have that system, so it's just too much. I'm overwhelmed by the choices, maybe.
And really, for example, Facebook for me is more. It has become less and less of social interaction, but more of a customized newsfeed for sites that I'm following. And I've also I've rediscovered newsletters.
Okay.
For if I find
The
a
one
blog,
that you always take note.
exactly, but nevertheless, it has really evolved into something new. It used to be annoying stuff, but if I find a blog which is amazing, I say, okay, I actually want to keep up with whatever is coming in that direction. I'll make sure to subscribe to the newsletter. Then I get a summary of all the blog posts if they make a decent newsletter. And people have started to really make like a digest of whatever's happening here. And then it's easy to just scroll through, and if it's interesting, click. Otherwise, delete. Then I'm up to date with that specific blog or whatever news site, and I've really used that as one of my filters. And then once in a while, I have the time to scroll through Twitter. Just and then here, for example, I use Twitter quite a lot, but I found a tool right now which takes whatever's been talked about amongst my Twitter followers, or the ones I follow, and they take the topics that most are sharing, and I can see like a rated view of whatever is going on in my network. I get the quality out, and I can see, okay, followers of no, people who follow the ones I follow, and I can see sort of what's going on in that neighborhood. So I look at ways to find ways to get quality information. And I like that. I love getting new inputs. That's one of the things that interests me the most. Is finding something new. And it's probably my biggest disadvantage. I want to be interested in way too much. um, but I'm finding ways to make it manageable. And
But I think again, a podcast format is a great way of getting like, because you can just have it.
for example,
while you're working or
this is a very Copenhagen thing to do, but when I go to work every morning, I have 5 kilometers to work. I grab my bicycle, no matter the weather, and I stretch along just to take my bicycle. It takes me 15 to 20 minutes to take that 5 kilometers, and if I had to take my cars, it takes between half an hour and 45 minutes. Yeah, exactly. And so I have time every day to and from work where I can listen to stuff. And I've really been appreciating having like that input from something I never knew anything about. And I get to hear a talk with, for example, Graham Hancock, who is talking about a lost civilization and that used to be on Earth before the pyramids and stuff like that. And something that blows your mind, be like, oh wow, I've never realized any of that. Yeah, getting random information. For example, one podcaster which really inspired me a lot was the one called Singularity 101, which I've been listening to. There was a guy named Stuart Hammeroff on, who has, he's an anesthesiologist. I think I pronounced that correctly. And he's the reason why he has that is because he's interested in consciousness. So what makes you conscious? That's a really good question. And once you put a person to sleep under anesthesia, well, you're actually shutting down the consciousness at that point, and they do whatever kind of surgery, and then you wake up. And that's that aspect of going in and out of consciousness is actually really interesting. But he has this theory that the brain is a quantum computer which works at room temperature, and so basically that you cannot take a normal classical computer and make that conscious. You have to operate in some kind. And it's really interesting hearing that stuff, which starts so many crazy philosophical like you can start so many philosophical conversations.
You get that input in a 15-minute bike ride, and then you have it in your head all day. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
And you're probably so good at your work that you just you're mostly in that part of your head where
exactly.
those thoughts are not.
So getting these random blips of new information is just really interesting. And I have a tendency to not be too. There's not much of a plan with the knowledge I pursue. For example, lately I've never knew I would be interested in this, but I got a couple of really good friends got interested in the UFC.
Okay.
And I had to figure out what it was all about, and I got on a mailing list for those share knowledge about different games and or matches, and I I started watching the first UFC ever brought into existence. I started from the beginning, and I actually took on the project.
When do you sleep, Jacob? You have a wife and a kid too. I have to come to your house.
Yeah,
What are you doing?
actually, I'm
right here. You have too much time.
no, I managed to take up snips here and there, and
Snips?
no, not at all. I don't do recreational drugs, but nevertheless, yeah, there's 170 something or 80 something UFC episodes. I managed to get to episode 17, and then I got the point of how this is evolving, and then I could appreciate to a much larger extent what's happening right now, because it's a sport which basically started out as this freak show where you have you have exactly, and you
Actually, I was working with some of the brands that I brought into Europe were one was sister brand for a brand called Fiction, and the guys who started that were involved with UFC.
Oh, crazy.
It was crazy. So a lot of like shirts that they come into,
Yeah.
Fiction, like this Randy something, Randy Couture or something. I remember.
Oh, yeah.
I sold some of those shirts in Denmark.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I've seen my fair share of UFC as well.
But yeah, I found it really interesting that you actually figure out what's working. And look at it from something else than just two guys trying to rip the head off each other, because there's so many things. The physical aspect of it is much less than the technical aspect of it, and that's really interesting. What's working, and the fact that it was a guy weighing only 70 or 80 kilos who just beat the crap out of everybody because he did Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and he knew how to get guys on the ground and then lock him in an armbar or choke them to unconsciousness. The fact that that guy won everything changed martial art to something completely different. And then what's going on today, I really start to appreciate that. Yeah. So just an example of stuff.
You have to do it like weekly update on the UFC then.
Well, we're definitely gonna take some of my friends here who are much more into it than me, but nevertheless, that's it's an aspect.
And we're on video as well, so we can have a little fight.
Yeah. I'm actually been looking into. Okay, maybe I should
do some.
Yeah, but I've had very little experience with martial arts in my past. I've did capoeira actually, and you get really good at kicking, but to be honest, I have no idea what constitutes a fight.
No,
and
dance,
well,
they ever hit each other?
You aim to hit once in a while. It's a game basically. You play. You say you play capoeira. So if somebody gets aggressive, you will get aggressive the other way, and things can actually turn out really nasty once in a while. But mostly it's playful. You aim to get it playful.
Actually, I did Wing Chun for 2 years.
Yeah.
When I was 17 or something, 17, 18. And I don't know if you know Wing Chun. It's like it's Kung Fu, but it's a very I would say it's a very direct version of Kung Fu. So they have these like chain strokes, like the machine that just goes and it aims the direct path to your opponent's face, neck or whatever. It's just a direct way, and then it's fist, elbow, knees, and then what's it called? Intermission. When they're on the ground.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was, I think that was crazy. Like, I enjoyed doing it, but we were like learning to really just knock someone out, and go for the neck or punch an eye out or whatever. And it was
it was really, especially maybe in Norway, it's too much to learn young people because there's a lot of, they used to, I don't know how it is now, but they used to do a lot of problems. So, you have to be prepared.
Yeah, exactly.
That was more self-defense, but yeah.
But nevertheless, I've never been in a fight, and I've been knocked down once in Bratislava of all places.
Oh, yeah.
On the street,
and
but
your money was taken.
No, not at all. It was a group of young people going towards them, and the next thing I knew, I was on the ground. That's the only thing I've ever been like close to. But it's a certain aspect that, like, I take Fight Club. Like, a person doesn't really know himself until.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And you can say that on a lot of levels, but I think it's actually true to a lot of things. How do you react? How do you react in that fight or flight mode? Do you run or do you go head on? And how do you react?
I've actually thought about a lot about because I had experience with martial arts.
Yeah.
I never was in a fight where I have to use my skills,
No.
But I still sometimes think, okay, what if someone comes to grab me? Like, what did I do? Pull here and stomp there. But I think in reality, the first reaction for me would be like, heartbeat going, stop breathing, going over, and then hopefully. I'm not into deep in the fight, so I can feel like.
It's really interesting. I lived in Australia for like 10 years ago. I lived in Australia for nearly a year, and I was in a martial art environment. That was when I did capoeira, and a lot of the guys that I did capoeira with also did other martial arts. A lot of them did taekwondo, a lot of them did kali, a lot of them did wing chun as well. And they really. Some of them called themselves martial arts sluts because they tried every martial art they could figure out. So yeah, exactly. But there was this guy. He actually got into a fight. He was jumped after when he was about to go home from work, and he was so mad at himself afterwards because his response wasn't as rational as he would want it to. Like he threw like a boxing punch, and he was like, oh, he was so mad at himself for doing that because you know that that's not what you're gonna do to actually win a fight. But nevertheless, I've never tried it myself. But I find it interesting.
The guy that you spoke about who could be a guest on the show, is he doing martial arts himself?
No, I have a couple of friends. One who's actually been doing a bit of Brazilian jiu-jitsu. The other one has done a bit of kickboxing. They're really interested in this. Yeah.
Yeah, let's see if you want to join the show.
Yeah, I've talked to one of these guys, and he's definitely ready.
I'll maybe be able to find someone who can eat up times.
There you go.
So we can get the guy that did the beating and the one that was beat down.
Oh yeah, there you go.
We need to have more, both side stories.
Yeah. So have you been thinking about guests that we could bring in?
To be honest, yeah. I mean, I have, but not anything specific. I think that we should do this again.
Yeah, indeed. It's fun.
Yeah, it is. And maybe once a week.
Yeah.
And maybe we do one more without a guest, or we bring on them. I don't know.
Yeah.
But we can just figure it out.
Yeah.
And I do have tons of interesting people in my life.
The same.
I haven't talked with anyone, but I think I'm gonna throw this video out to people and then see if someone.
They're gonna laugh their ass off. This is gonna be awesome.
I don't know if anyone would like to finish the whole show, but because some of these people are in my life and you're used to them nowadays, and they've heard all this before, and so.
See, that's actually an interesting aspect. I heard it on one of the podcasts I've listened to called London Real, and they always tend to have 3 persons in the room. So they have a guy. There are 2 hosts, and they have often a 3rd person, and they make sure that they're the 2 hosts pretty much all the time, because you get really interesting conversations where you have more chipping into to whatever it evolves to, and you don't get awkward silences and stuff like that. Not that we had any, but nevertheless, it's going to be interesting to have people in here and see how conversation evolves.
Yeah, definitely. No, definitely.
Yeah.
And I don't know for how long.
I have no idea.
I'm trying to see who's watching.
Can you see any statistics here? No, not at all. I think we started around 8:30. So yeah, a little more than.
Yeah, 1.5 hours.
Let's continue. Yeah. But
Definitely, but I'm gonna speak to some people. But I don't mind. I mean, it doesn't have to be that I know already.
Yeah.
And actually, a lot of my friends, I don't know what they do, because when I meet them, I talk to them, we go out. At least my close friends go out, and we don't talk too much about what we've done and what we do, or more bridge.
Oh yeah.
So it's more living in just in the moment.
Yeah.
At least, and people like a lot of my friends are also in the 30s. They just finished education and stuff like that. So they're moving fast as well. So they're constantly changing and doing.
Yeah.
So
I have some friends that would be really interested in into this, and also from a lot of different perspectives.
And that's, I mean, that's completely fine with me. I'm not, I don't get nervous around people. I don't know.
It's the same here, and I'm very agnostic about what we can talk about.
Yeah, exactly.
I even have one of my really close friends who's a Muslim. I love to talk to him about some of the philosophies that evolves around the topic of religion, because it's interesting to get a grasp of something you don't fully understand. I'm not a religious person myself at all, so just hearing that aspect is just really interesting. We have great conversations. I'm going to bring him in. Yeah. And so I don't know how long we should continue, or we should.
I think that we should aim for 2 hours.
Exactly.
I mean, but if we feel we're good, then we're good. I mean,
no, not at all.
So yeah, right. Isn't that a proper,
Yeah, exactly. Maybe we can touch a bit about us speaking English, because that's it's a weird thing about this, because the reason why I think it was me who brought it up that we should speak English, because all the podcasts I'm listening to is in English, and being Danish, you pretty much have English as nearly
natural.
It's a natural thing. It's not your mother tongue, but it's very close to. And everybody speaks really good English. And as we said prior to this, we're only 5 million people here in this country. And if you look at the podcasting genre, that's been really interesting to look at. I've been listening to so many podcasts, and I see podcasting as a new medium that kicks a lot of other media's ass. Because if you take the normal way of like people talking, you have your radio show or talk shows on television. There you have a network, and there you have the gatekeeper, there you have the journalist trying to find an angle. And so podcasting for me it's been really liberating to hear what a single person thinks. Okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna make this show on my own terms, whatever those terms are. And when I look through the most popular podcast in Denmark, it's old shows and it's past recordings from our radio station. So you subscribe to a different radio program and you can listen to their shows. But you don't have that independent feel about it. And I think I've only encountered one person who's done it the way I see it's supposed to be done, and how you do it from a US perspective. This guy called Martin Torborg, who I would love to get on this podcast. That would be an aim to get him on, because he's a very famous person.
But he's doing it in Danish, right?
He's doing it in Danish. And I have no clue. But nevertheless, he's doing it right. But there's no other ones doing it. What I want to do with this is tap into that zeitgeist that we talked about earlier. I've been listening to so many perspectives, great shows where you have that small local perspective from the US. So if I hear a podcast taking place in California, you can talk about a lot of big topics, but they always have that small mix of what's happening on a local level. For example, I know that in the US around in California, there's a lot of farmers markets, which is an evolution of organic farming that we don't have in Denmark. We're really poor at doing that. So just getting those small things that are different, and you get that people are they shape a lot of the culture they come from, and you don't notice it yourself maybe, but your cultural luggage, it's very hard to get rid of. So whenever I hear Americans speak, they have this dire-hard belief in the capitalistic way of living. And I think it's a lot more nuanced than that. And there's something that I really noticed that, okay, it could be really interesting if we take our cultural language, which is Danish, and we're in Copenhagen right now. So the stuff that, the fact that I'm taking my bicycle to work, even though it's snowing outside, and pretty much all of Copenhagen is doing that. That's small, and walking as well, and then taking the car is pretty much in our what do you call it? In our social environment, it's pretty. It's not a cool thing to take your car everywhere.
No, I mean, like I have a car, you have a car, and I mean, I need it for some purposes. You know, it just makes life easier.
But I would love to not have a car.
Exactly.
So just that small perspective, where you don't come from a social or some cultural thing where having a car is essential to life, just makes it interesting for other people to listen into. We live in apparently the most happy nation in the world. So it's just these small things that could be interesting from an outsider to listen to. That fact that we're from Denmark.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think it's going to influence people, or be interesting to people in the US or wherever people are listening in, but also locally. Because we're going to be bringing in mostly local people to begin with. I hope that we can, like, if we bring in a person who has a local business, that we can also help understand what that person is in business for.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's money, it's money. If it's like creating farmers markets, it's another thing. You know, but trying to and maybe push that along as well on the local scale.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we'll set an example, like we talked about with politics. I mean, that we may set an example from Denmark.
Yeah, exactly. For example, I live on a street which is very vivid, and it has a lot of small, amazing stores which only exist there because the rent in this street is so damn low. So you get stores that you wouldn't find other places, and I would love to take some of the most interesting ones of those and ask the guy who owns it and say, hey, to want to come here and talk to us for a couple of hours, just to get that small perspective of
why the person is doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
For
For example, there's a store. I actually just moved to the neighborhood street, but there's a store with a guy. He has his entire store is filled with 80s memorabilia. Like he has He-Man's castles everywhere and Ninja Turtles and every video game ever brought into existence. He has that, and he has arcade machines and flipper machines. And, like all the toys that are so kitschy, and he's a hairdresser.
Oh,
and that guy. Combined. Yeah. Yeah. And when you sit there and get your hair done, you play. I think it's Super Mario or something like that. Or I can't remember which game this you're playing, but if you beat the high score, you get a free haircut.
Oh, nice.
And stuff like that, which is pretty crazy. And we also have on the street, there's a guy who used to be the world champion making coffee. A guy who used to be the world champion tasting coffee. Getting capacities like that. It would be awesome. I don't know if that's happening, but
I don't think it's going to be cool.
Yeah. And also have some I've lived in other countries. I lived nearly a year in Australia, and I lived nearly a year in Amsterdam. Met some really amazing people. And right now we're doing it on Google Hangouts on there. It should be possible just as inviting people in. I have one of the most interesting people I ever met is he's in Adelaide, Australia, and I'm definitely gonna bring him in. So it's indeed.
And for us speaking in English, I've always enjoyed America, and even when I was a teen, I was looking very much to California, and I also did that business with.
So you've been a lot in California?
Yeah, I was there, I think 4 times.
Oh,
and I still have some good friends. Unfortunately, I haven't spoken to them for a while. But that's just been, that's just the way it is. They'll be my friends or forever. So
it's the same job.
And I really love being in California, and it's far away. Even like you must have kind of lived in Australia.
Yeah.
It's far away from Denmark, and you have some ties here that does. So you don't just move.
No, you don't. I've actually the only place I've ever been in the US is in California. So I used to work for Cisco, and I worked for a Cisco partner, and I've been to Silicon Valley and up and down the coast there. What was it called? Santa Cruz, for example, and cities like that. And it's.
I was mostly in LA because that was where the business was. And I really enjoyed it. It's such a cultural difference from Denmark. And everything you see in movies or you hear about in music, it's there.
Yeah.
And all the products are there.
Yeah.
You can get it all.
That was also the funny thing about like going through Silicon Valley. You just look at Google there, and there's Microsoft, and there's one after the other, and you're like, okay, this is where it's at. Yeah. But we're speaking English. Just to make sure. Yeah.
And I think actually when I had my business, and I'm still speaking English in my normal job.
Yeah.
But I found it hard at the beginning to have my persona shine through in English as well. Being when you're funny in Danish, it's not necessarily the same when you're funny in English. And
there's a lot of subtleties.
Swearing is like one of the things. You swear in Danish, it's natural,
Yeah.
But when you do it in English, it's more of a decision. Now I'm going to swear now. I'm going to go fucking in there.
Exactly, and there's another really funny thing. I'm living in living in Australia versus living in Amsterdam. I worked for an international company there, where I had 132 different colleagues from 44 different nations in an American company. So the lingo which was going on was sort of American English. And if you take the contrast to how it was speaking Australian English and Australian slang at the same time, it's just completely different, and there's so different dynamics in the language. And it's really funny, like what makes something funny, what makes something interesting, applying it. And we're definitely very much affected of that American way of speaking English.
Yes, definitely. But I mean, it's for me now it comes naturally. I think that this is the way that I speak English is not something that I just. It's more of a natural way. It's not something that I do.
Yeah.
It flows for me actually more.
Yeah.
Than it did a couple of years ago. But I still have to consider more how I say things and what I say.
Yeah.
Than in Danish. And actually, sometimes I'm struggling to formulate myself in Danish because I'm more. It would be easier for me to do it in English.
Yeah, there's sometimes there's parts of sentences that, well, it's pretty much impossible to figure out a way. Also, like you said yourself that you're watching TV shows, and that's become sort of the new norm for everybody. That you follow American TV shows or English as well, and you get that exposure every day.
Yeah.
And we choose to watch them with English subtitles and stuff like that. So you get cultural things which you only have references to in English, and you have a very hard time finding ways to say them in Danish, and you choose to use English words as a representative of those concepts, even though you speak in English. So,
I mean, it's going to be up to the people listening in. We decided if we can keep it up in English, but I think that we've done pretty good so far. I hope that our guests are okay with like keeping it in English as well.
Yeah, indeed.
Not everybody can speak it as well as you and I, but this is fine. It's more. I mean, I hope that people can get their opinions across, personally across.
Yeah, especially when we get guests into this show. This is it's going to be interesting.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Also because they'll hopefully will not get that many awkward situations.
But I mean, when we talked about how to do this podcast, I just said, okay, so is it Danish or English? You said English, and I didn't want to challenge that at all because okay, that's it. Maybe we're just going to go with it. So we've really not challenged anything so far. Just, and it's working out.
I think we should begin to call it quit now.
Yeah,
because I think we've done around 2 hours.
Good job here. I had fun. I mean,
the same here.
It's definitely lived up to my expectations of not that I even knew what I was going into, but at least I knew that I had hope that I would really go with a good on a positive thing. I definitely have that. I think that we can take this in many directions.
I think we are missing one vital point here.
Songs.
No. But what the fuck is this podcast going to be called?
Oh, yeah.
I've had so many discussions with my wife, and she thinks all my ideas are horrible.
Well, I mean, you threw some names out there.
And they were horrible?
They were not horrible. It's just that I didn't completely feel them.
No, it's
because it was more of like it's something that once we land on it, I think
that's the thing.
You can throw some of them out there.
So this is the Claus and Jakob show.
Yeah, so far it is. Yeah, and it's fine. We're gonna be working on it, and I think it is something that will come also.
Yeah.
So we're going to do a couple of shows in, and I mean.
And once we have the name, then we'll put it on iTunes.
Yeah. Once the name is there, all episodes will be on iTunes.
Yeah.
And I think that we should do some time. Then we'll do a website as well.
Yeah, indeed.
And add it all in.
Yeah.
So we'll make it.
But so far, so good. We
Yeah.
don't have any.
No names yet. And I mean, it's been 5 days since we decided to meet today. You know. So,
Yeah.
And it's been Easter, and things are just taking more time, I think.
Yeah.
For us at the moment. So I'm sure we'll find an awesome name.
Hopefully.
Definitely.
But nevertheless, thank you for tonight.
This first one.
Yeah. I'm gonna stop this. There.